Hi, Lady Jane. How are you?
Hi, Alan. I'm fine, thank you.
Good. Thank you so much for volunteering for this Values Jam session today. I'm really looking forward to whatever card we're going to draw and where the conversation will go. But before we do that, please could you just introduce yourself and the great work that you do?
Okay. Thanks, Alan. I am a positive behavior facilitator out here in Nigeria. For work, I am the Director of Student Mentorship and Parents Relations at Godfrey Okoye University, Enugu, and then also the founding director for Genuine Womanhood Initiative, Pathway to Nation Building, which is a social reform group that tries to champion true humanity.
Wow. So students and women, your two groups in those two initiatives.
Yes.
And what is it that you do with the students in particular?
Okay, for the students, it's all about mentorship, mentoring them. And so we assign mentors to the students and help them get through the university community. And just help them in setting goals. Well, they set the goals and we guide them in achieving those goals.
Well, that's fantastic, because I was just talking last week to somebody about how when you're a student, so many students receive zero guidance and they're left on their own, basically. And then maybe they get through university, maybe they don't. And then they get a job and they get a promotion. And then several years later, they look around and they say, how did I get here? This isn't what I wanted. So for you to be providing them with mentorship at that early stage, I think is extremely valuable. So many congratulations on that good work.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So here's the Values Jam card deck. And what we're going to do now is choose a card. So in order to do that, what I'd like you to do is tell me how many times you'd like me to cut the deck.
Let's see, 5 times. I like number 5.
Okay.
Yes.
So why is 5 special then?
5 isn't that for, is it new beginnings or something? I don't know. Well, I don't know. I just know 5 and 7 are the numbers that I really like.
All right. So we've got 5. I've got 5 piles in front of me now. So would you like pile 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5?
Pile 1, please.
Pile 1. And here I've got 4 cards. So number 1, 2, 3, or 4?
3.
3. Right. Okay. I think this is going to be
okay.
Fun.
Teamwork.
So teamwork is the value that we're going to play with today. And the first question that I've got for you is this. What does teamwork mean? And what does it look, feel, and sound like?
Teamwork is everyone pulling together. No one thinking that he or she is better than the other. So we join hands, we swim together, we walk together, we share ideas, we support one another. And teamwork actually makes dream work. It's a big thing for me. I like teamwork, team effort. It encourages people to bring out their best. Everyone feeling valued, everyone feeling that they have something to contribute. Then at the end of the day, each one just feels good, having added value to the work at hand. So that's teamwork for me.
Yeah, I loved when you started talking about joining hands and swimming together and walking together. That I love that kind of very practical examples. And then you talked about people feeling valued as well, which I think is another really important part of teamwork. And if I think back to, say, my achievements in work, let's say, the ones that I am most proud of are those that have been team achievements rather than personal achievements. There's something much better when you're able to celebrate with other people that have been directly involved in realizing the achievement together. And then what does it look like? For me, it's this thing around people being really close together. So I've got a picture in my mind of a group of people with their arms around each other, you know, so that you're really together. You're not just standing next to each other, you're really with each other. And also, I don't think you mentioned this, but one thing that comes to mind about teamwork that I really think is important is the notion of interdependence.
Yes.
So it's this thing around, you know that you can help somebody else, but you also know that for you to be able to do your job, you need the help from somebody else as well, rather than you just be on your own. Now, you must relate to teamwork a great deal in the work that you described right at the beginning.
Yes, indeed. In fact, we just completed a program, a parents forum program, where we had to connect all the parents to the university. And that took a lot of work. And I couldn't do that by myself. I had to build a team, you know, to be able to make that happen, you know, connecting them online and sharing ideas of what we wanted to get done at the forum. And then also just putting together that forum, that conference, you know, all the different things that needed to be bought, like the food and the preparing for the election of the new ESCO members and all that. So everyone had a part to play, including the students. You know, the students were also very helpful. They were able to man the registration tables for me, you know, and served as ushers. So it was a whole team effort, you know, to be able to realize that dream. And it came through. It came through because everyone pulled, you know, together and gave their very best.
Yeah, I think the point you make there about everybody playing a part is so important. So my original career was in commercial hospitality management. So I used to run 5-star hotels and conference centers and that sort of thing. And in hotels, the function that I progressed in was event management. So I used to organize the sort of event that you're just describing there. And it's so important for everybody, irrespective of what level of seniority they are, to understand that they play a fundamentally important role in the whole experience. And let me give you an example that I use when I'm explaining this to people. So imagine the most expensive hotel that you know. And imagine that somebody has decided to take you there for a celebration dinner. And so you arrive at the hotel and the greeting is wonderful and you're taken through into the restaurant and it looks fantastic with the linen tables and the chandeliers and the deep carpets, you know, all of this. And you're seated at the table and the restaurant manager is very gracious, explains all of the dishes to you, takes the order, you receive a glass of chilled water, the service is impeccable. And then the starters arrive and you pick up your knife and fork, and then you look at the fork and you notice that there's hardened egg yolk on the fork.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. So the whole experience is shattered, right?
Ruined, yes.
Just because of this hardened egg yolk. And the guy who's responsible for doing the job of cleaning the knives and forks in the kitchen is not paid a lot of money, might not have been there for very long, But the point is that they have the power to destroy that experience for somebody like you. So that was a bit of a long-winded story, but I think that it demonstrates your point about how every single person has a really important role to play when we're thinking about teamwork.
Teamwork, yes, that's true.
So I've got another question to ask now then. So the next question here is, where have you noticed a lack of teamwork?
At work, at work, because sometimes not everyone embraces team effort. There are some who prefer to be seen. They just want to be heard. They just want to just be the only ones, doing the work, or seemingly doing the work. So, and it's quite frustrating, when you're having to work with someone who, at the end of the day, does not acknowledge your efforts and then goes and misrepresents the team. Because I once worked in a faculty, but I wouldn't mention the faculty so that when people are listening, they would not know, So, but the person in charge, we would all pull ourselves together trying to get the faculty going, but we were never really represented well. It was only about her. And which wasn't very encouraging, because if you're unable to acknowledge the efforts of the team around you in making that work happen, they don't get promoted, they don't get appreciated, and then at the end, all you just receive are backlashes and things that didn't go well, and so many horrible things that are said, that you begin to wonder, I mean, there's enough to go around, and then if each person is acknowledged and valued, the person does even much more. But if after the work has been done and then you run to whoever that is in charge and said, I did it all by myself, my team, they in fact, I don't even have a team. They are just so useless, I mean, I've experienced that and it wasn't very good. It wasn't very good.
Yeah, I can relate to what you're describing. I enjoy football. And since I was a young boy, I've supported Manchester United. That's the team I've supported all of my life. And at the moment, I don't know if you've seen in the press or if you're even interested, but it relates to the topic of teamwork, because Cristiano Ronaldo, who is probably the best player of all time, has recently had an interview where he has said that he does not respect the coach. And there are also some things that have happened in the recent weeks where, for instance, in one game, Cristiano Ronaldo he didn't start, he was a substitute. And near the end of the game, he was asked to go on to play the last few minutes of the game, and he refused. Now, I just don't understand how anybody can think that they are better than their team, how they can think that they are above the coach and the team. Yeah, absolutely. So that's a parallel example, I think, to the one that you've given. And I think the other thing that really struck with me that you said was that when people are valued and recognized for the part that they play, actually they do more.
Yes.
And the discretionary effort increases enormously. And I think one of the best returns on investment that anybody can make in business is a recognition program done well. Because when people feel recognized, they feel proud, and they're just willing to do so much more in their place of work. So what do you think? What do you think makes people behave like that? You know, because you were talking about somebody that you've encountered who kind of tried to grab all of the glory for themselves, and then other people are all too keen and happy for their colleagues and their team members to be recognized. So why do you think that there's this difference in attitude to teamwork between different people?
I think when a person is overly ambitious, then the person just wants to be seen, doing everything. Like I said, when I first got into my job and I had written a training material for a program that we were carrying out then, and the leader who was supposed to coordinate everything, now decided that my training program was now her training program, and because she was the one in charge and she had all the contacts, she had everything, and I was just new in the institution, so she now, said that was her program, but I was just the mere typist, that typed the work. So when she was now asked to showcase the soft copy of the work, she didn't have it, and she didn't know anything about it. And I felt very bad, because I felt that as a leader, she already had so much going for her as a leader, much older than me, more exposed and more of everything. And I was just coming up, and all she could do was just to more or less take the light away from my flight at that point. And that wasn't very nice. And everything that I did to try and support her leadership, she always painted me in the wrong way, and everything that would have come to me, she would sideline me, but at the back, I would be helping. But
Yeah.
when it comes to that recognition, she would make sure that I don't surface, I am not seen. It was a very trying period, working with her. And it's really left a very sour taste in my mouth, because I'd never worked with a leader like that before. So, and I think that was just from being overly ambitious and just not being kind, because that's just all I can attribute to that. Yes.
Yeah, the one other thing that in my experience, the people that behave like this, sometimes, not always, but sometimes it's also because of a lack of confidence in themselves.
True. Yeah.
Have you found that as well?
Yes, indeed. Yes. It finally showed up later, that she didn't have much confidence in herself.
Yeah.
Yes.
And are you familiar with, in organizations, we usually talk about the organizational structure like a triangle, and you've got the senior people up here and then the rest of the organization down there. Well, when I used to work in hotels, the way that we used to like to deal with it was like this instead.
Okay.
So this is the leader still, but actually their job is to support the people at the point of service delivery in order for them to do the very best job that they can do. And I love the fact that you use the word kind, because if you are kind and if you shine a light on those people, then again, you just get so much more back in return, that you've got much more than you would have had if you were trying to keep the light on yourself and you're trying to hide those people away, right? And it always confuses me, actually, how, when you think about the number of people in leadership positions in an organization, they're very few. And so it's not really about their performance. It's about the performance of everybody else in the organization. And if they could just get those tens or hundreds or sometimes thousands of people to be doing a great job, then by definition, they will be successful because of the team.
True.
Now, in ValuesJam, there is one question that I'd like to invite you to have a go at. So it says this: ask your own question about teamwork, starting with who, what, where, when, why, or how. So what question do you have in your mind that you'd like us to explore?
How can we improve people's perception to teamwork? To embrace teamwork a bit more than just thinking of just themselves.
That's a great question, isn't it? Because it kind of, I think that's a follow-on of what we were just talking about just now, about the impact of a more supportive leadership style. Because I think part of the challenge with what you've just described is that leaders are glorified.
Yes.
And so we say, oh, this person or that person was the leader, and weren't they wonderful, all of these achievements. And everybody else that has played a part is perhaps not given due recognition. So for me, the answer is to really be conscious about recognizing the part and the contribution that other people make, not just the figurehead of the organization. You've reminded me, I was in Singapore with a hotel company, and they were explaining how they did have a recognition program in place. And so I said to them, so who do you recognize, and what do you recognize people for? And the answer came back, well, it's when people go the extra mile. It's when somebody does something spectacular. So then I asked the question, if of the 100% of the things that you do, think about what percentage of that time do you have the opportunity to go the extra mile or go above and beyond or do something spectacular, compared to the amount of time that you are doing normal day-to-day things. So I asked them to think individually and then give me their answer. And collectively, it was all pretty much the same. They said, we think probably less than 20% of our time is the opportunity to do something amazing, and 80% of our time is to do the normal day-to-day things. So I said, okay, so what you're telling me is that you have a recognition program in place that is only targeted at less than 20% of what everybody does in this organization. Is that right? And of course they're like, yeah, that's right. And that's not what we should be doing, right? Exactly. So I think my answer to your question is find a way to recognize and celebrate the fantastic job that people do doing the normal stuff day in, day out. And I'll stop after I've shared this, but in this particular hotel, I remember the lady that used to polish the marble floor in reception. And what she said was, my floor greets every single guest that comes to this hotel. And I still get a tingle.
I like that.
And yet she, so other people would say, well, all she did was clean the floor. But that wasn't her attitude. And the more we can get people to understand this thing we were talking about earlier, about she made the greeting for many people because of the sparkling floor. What about you? What thoughts have you had on the answer to the question that you raised?
I'm thinking in line with what you're saying, because those everyday things that we tend to overlook are really the things that make the work go, because if, for instance, like I also work in admissions. Now, if the team decides to be grumpy because, we have so many students, coming to seek admission, and don't maybe receive them warmly, many would leave. I mean, there are other universities that they can go to. So the fact that we deal with a lot of pressure, and yet, we still try, to attend to the students, the number of inquiries that we receive, and then do it, with the aim of ensuring that the student gets the right information, that the student is able to be helped, to fill out the admission forms and, proceeds into starting at the university, So we do that on daily basis. And sometimes it could be a little routine work for some, but like I always say to my team, the way you allow your personality, your essence to be felt in that work is what makes the difference. The way you greet the student and the parents, the way you accept to take them maybe to the bursary unit or to take them to the ICT unit, just to make sure that they're able to complete the process, and sometimes, you see some of the students, they come in, they're tired, they're going from one department to the other, and they're exhausted, And I think I shared this on social media. One walked into my office and was sweating and all that. And I said, just sit down, and I gave him a cold bottle of water to drink, and he felt better, And I've done that a few times for some of the students, and I can see from their faces, they're tired, they're confused, they don't know where to go, they don't, they're just new. And then you're talking with them and telling them, don't worry, all these things will be sorted, have a drink, tell me why you want to study this course, tell me about it, and then they're looking at you and thinking, this is good. I've had some of the students walk up to me and they said, oh, we saw you on social media. I want to be part of what you do with women. I want to be part of what you do, in mentorship and all those things, So it's about just those regular things, letting them see that you're also human, you also pass through that stage, and that they will get, they would eventually get to learn the university system, get the thing that they came for, because sometimes I've also seen some students and they said to me, I came to study one course. My parents told me to study it. And then I'm looking at the qualifications, I'm looking at the grades, and I'm saying, but you didn't do so well in these subjects for this particular course. I said, yes, but my parents said I must study this, and then when the parents are there, I'm able to speak with the parents. And I said, but I can see your child's strengths in these other subjects. Could you just allow your child be herself or himself? And then I begin to talk about the benefits of the course that the child probably wishes to study. And before you know it, the child is switching to that course that aligns with his core, So it's attitude is one thing, and then knowing that you are part of a link, to the full picture. You're trying to help another human being. So maybe that little word that you may chip in, that smile, the way you go the extra mile to just make sure that it's done, not necessarily in the very big things. It could just be very little things, but they leave a lasting memory in the minds of the people you're connected with.
Yeah, and there's a lot that you said there, but I think there are two things that come through really strongly for me. One is that when you're in a role like the admissions people, for instance, they need to understand that they are representing the university establishment, right? And like you said, these students have other choices. And so maybe because of the behavior of an administration person, a student will be encouraged to join or will be discouraged from joining. You know, that's the power. And then the other thing that you mentioned was they see that you're human. And I think this is vastly underestimated in terms of importance in business in particular. You know, when I was progressing through my career, I know that a lot of the encouragement was to get things done, to achieve results, almost at the exclusion of considering that people were human beings. I remember one hotel I worked in, the largest room we had for an event was something like 800 people for a dinner. And so the way that we were able to staff events was to use temporary employees. So, you know, we didn't have full-time employees all of the time. So we hired these temporary employees. People from all over the world, very diverse backgrounds, some extremely well qualified, many of them not speaking great English. And these were the people that would serve the food at the table at these big dinners. And I found out that there was no changing area for these people. And they had to get changed on the loading bay, basically. And so I was the assistant manager in my department, not the head of the department, but the head of department was on holiday. And so I had to attend a meeting in his place. And the meeting was to discuss expenditure in the hotel for the next coming year. And they were going around the table saying, you know, what sort of things do you think we should be spending the money on? And I was quite young, I think. And when it came to my turn, I said, I'm just here because my boss is on holiday. So, you know, do you want me to ask him to tell you when he gets back, what he thinks? And the general manager of the hotel said, no, you're here and you're at this table. So I'd like to know what you think we should be spending some money on. So I said, well, these guys that we hire on a temporary basis, we expect them to represent this hotel when they are serving food to the chief executive officers of the most important companies that come to attend the dinners at our hotel. And yet we allow them to get changed on the loading bay. I think it would be better if we had a changing room for them. And the general manager, I just remember it almost like his jaw dropping.
Dropped.
Yeah. Anyway, we got the changing room built.
Okay.
So, and that's again, that's teamwork, you know, standing up for each other, irrespective of the level. And you've used the word kindness. I think a lot of it does come back to being kind to another human being. And if we just came back to that all the time, it would help us to make the right choices a lot more often. All right, so I'm going to ask, before we draw this to a close, I'm going to ask a big question now. So how could more teamwork improve the world?
It would help more people to be more considerate of one another, more teamwork. Yeah, because just before you asked that question, I was going to speak a little bit, you know, about something that I champion, which is building a culture of consideration. So if we're going to promote teamwork, that also builds a culture of consideration. You know, just being able to be there for your fellow human being, you know, giving that person the space, you know, to have a voice, to showcase what he or she carries within. You know, there are people with beautiful gifts, but never really given the opportunity to showcase those gifts. You know, some are very shy, and some just, you know, because they keep hearing others being mentioned, so they just sit as though they have nothing to offer, and yet they have something, you know. And I believe so strongly that if we have an atmosphere that champions teamwork, and that atmosphere obviously will be safe, it will be friendly, it will be non-judgmental, it would encourage people to just do the little they can. And then as they do that little, and then they get that acknowledgement, you know, that thumbs up, that smile, oh, well done. Oh, I like the way you, like you said, the lady that was polishing the floor, and she was doing it wholeheartedly, you know, and as far as she was concerned, her floor greets everyone. So you can imagine each person working with an attitude such as that. You know, if I'm the one that files all the papers, and I'm making sure that I'm filing them neatly and everything, you know, whatever you need, I can tell you where it is. If I'm the one that makes the tea, you know, I make it, you know, to the liking of everyone that is drinking it. You know, if I'm the one that dispatches, you know, each time I get into the office, I greet them with a smile. I say, here I am with my work to dispatch today. I hope you're doing great. People look forward to me visiting that office. So if we can encourage more teamwork, people will become more selfless, you know, and then they will also realize that there's enough to go around, you know. And you cannot, there's a saying that we have back here, you know, you cannot be the only cock crowing in the background. There are other cocks crowing, you know. So so if we can have that attitude that yes, you could be good at what you do, but you cannot be the best at everything. There is someone that does something better than you, the same way you do something else better than someone else. So everyone has a gift, everyone has something to give. And then the more we are giving that opportunity to showcase what we can do, people will no longer envy one another. You know, people will no longer run each other down, you know, and people will just be happy, you know, be happy to do the work that they have come to do, you know. And at the end of the day, you can beat your chest and say, well, I did my part, you know, and I enjoyed doing my part. And then you feel valued in yourself. You know, it's another thing for people to value you, but you can also see the value that you're bringing to the work, you know, and that promotes good health and mental health, you know. So I think it's something that must be encouraged. Team effort, teamwork, it must be encouraged.
And this is quite easy for me to answer because I've been thinking about this particular topic with regard to teamwork just recently, and that is the world and the way that the world is run or led or organized, because I can't think of another organization that would allow admissions to just do their thing, or just allow the kitchen to do their thing, or just allow finance to do their thing without some sort of leadership across all of the departments for everybody to understand that they are interdependent and they're part of one team. But in the world, we don't do that, right? So it's there is enough food produced in the world for every single person, and yet people are dying of starvation in some parts of the world. I read recently that the recent space project that's just been started will cost something like $30 billion by 2025 or something like that. Now, why is it that something like that is happening when in other parts of the world, people do not have clean water, do not have medicine, do not have shelter, do not have basic education? So for me, I think there is an opportunity perhaps for the scope and responsibility and authority of something like the United Nations to be extended, and for them to take responsibility for every single person on this planet to have the basics in place. And that's not to say, you know, for everybody to have an equal share, no, but for everybody to have enough food, enough water, shelter and safety and basic education. Why are we not able to do that as the human race? I don't understand.
That same perception of just thinking of yourself, you know, just your own space, you know, because it's working out for you, you know, you don't really care so much about the other person because you're not affected by it, you know. But when everyone has the basics, then there's security.
Yeah.
No, because I always hammer on this, you know, if just a few people, you know, have everything, they have all the money, they have all the comfort, and majority of the people are starving, a time will come when these starving ones may want to eat those ones that, you know, because they have nothing else to lose.
Yeah.
You know, so but if we're able to provide, you know, just those basic needs, you know, rather than shut our eyes to the problems of other people, you know, because you may think it's not your problem, but eventually becomes your problem when you're no longer safe to walk the streets.
Yeah.
You know, so it's something that we need to really begin to think about the bigger picture. We need to think about humanity, you know, what it means to be a true human being.
Yeah.
You know, you cannot be a true human being and then you see your neighbor is the person next to you suffering, and then you turn a blind eye.
Yeah.
You know, it's like there's like another saying that we use out here, that when you throw a stone at a market square, you don't know who is going to hit. You know, it could hit somebody related to you.
Yeah.
So you, in that way, if just like what is about to happen in Nigeria, you know, next year is going to be our big election. And for many of us, we're saying enough is enough. You know, let a new Nigeria arise. Let's have leaders that are thinking about the people. You know, we cannot, this is a blessed nation, a rich nation, but majority of the people are suffering, you know. So, but if we have leaders that actually think about the people, the welfare of the people, then we can have basic amenities. I mean, we shouldn't be talking about lack of power supply at a time like this. We shouldn't be lacking water, food, you know, of all things, you know, and these things are still challenges to us. So, but if we have a leader, a committed, selfless leader who is thinking about the good of everyone, you know, that Nigeria should belong to everyone, you know, then things will begin to change. You know, education, you can imagine our students, many of the students in the government schools were off the university. They were on strike because the universities were on strike for many months, so up to almost a year, you know, with students not attending the university. So if we have considerate leaders, that are really human beings, then they would make policies that would benefit all.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a really great, optimistic way to finish the Values Jam. But there is one final question that I have for us both, and it is this. What are you encouraged to do differently about teamwork as a result of our conversation today?
I would take it even more seriously. Yes, I have always been a team person, but having spoken with you today and seeing the enormous benefit of teamwork, I am going to champion it even much more than I'm doing presently, and I would encourage my team, to come closer to me, to feel free to give their ideas on how we can build the system, how we can make things even better. We're doing that gradually, but I would want them to get onto the benefits of teamwork, because if each member of the team has a good understanding of what teamwork is all about, this tendency of hoarding information, of wanting to do it alone, of wanting to be recognized alone, we would be able to do away with that. And if we're able to do away with that, then we build trust, and once we're able to build trust, then we can move a lot further. And then we can be able to find those areas where, because there are certain innate qualities that we may have, but it's only when they are given the opportunity to shine forth, that you can begin to see how valuable, how resourceful you can be,
Yeah.
and how you can even aim for something higher.
Yeah.
So unless you're able to see that, you may not think that you're bringing anything valuable, and then you will always be thinking, I need to sabotage this person to be able to be seen. And I don't want us to continue in that direction.
So let me just ask you, so what you've said is that you're going to pay even more attention to teamwork. Yes. And I'm curious to understand what the first baby step for you could be in doing that. So something very practical and tangible. What is it that you're encouraged to do?
The first thing I would want us to do would be to, I would like to have a meeting with my team. Okay. And then, I would like to have a meeting with my team, to speak about this teamwork. And then I would also like to give each one a little assignment in making that meeting happen, So it wouldn't be just me organizing the meeting, bringing them to the meeting. I would want each person to take a part. What do you think we need for this meeting to happen? Do it.
That sounds like a fantastic idea. Yes. So when do you think this meeting can happen?
Hopefully next week. Oh, sorry, this week. This is already Monday. Yes, by Friday. Yes, Friday.
Okay.
Yes, Friday.
Cool. Okay.
Friday is usually a freer day for us.
Okay. That's great. And the reason I pushed you for a bit of extra detail is because in these Values Jam conversations, we like there to be a concrete outcome. So sometimes, there is a bit of a temptation for all of us to talk in quite general terms. And so, if we finished the call and you had said that you're going to pay more attention to teamwork, that's fine. That's a good intention generally, but actually there's a risk that that might not convert into anything. Whereas now, you know that you're going to have the meeting either this Friday, or if not this week, then next week. And you know already that you're going to ask everybody to play a part in creating the meeting.
Yes.
So the chances of that happening are a lot higher. What I'm encouraged to do is I'm going to send you a YouTube link to a video, a guy you might have heard of called Simon Sinek. And he talks about the golden circle. And he explains in the golden circle that when we're at work, a lot of the time we are focused on talking about the what needs to be done. And yet what really inspires people is not the what, but the why and the how. So the purpose and the style. So for instance, to take your admissions example, you know, the what is that you need to capture the forms and applications from however many dozens of students in a day. That's the what. But actually the why is that you are an ambassador for this university, and the way that you behave encourages people to either join us or not. And so because of that, the way we want you to behave is warm and friendly and greeting, blah, blah, blah. So that's what really inspires people. And so I'll send you the video, and you know, you might share it with your team members. You might choose to use it in a different way. So LadyJaneNdukwe, thank you so much for joining for this Values Jam session today on the value of teamwork.
Thank you so much for having me, and I've really enjoyed our interactive session. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.